Doesn't make the league look good. But you know what? When you've had these games called like this, maybe the league deserves it. If they're not going to take accountability, if we can't have a pool reporter just ask the basic question of what the fuck did you see on that play, we can't get that. We can't get that from the situation room in Toronto. Then it's on the coach and these guys to call those things out. Again, the players are the ones doing it, but you're not going to hear it from the coach. And I don't know, like, is it you just don't want to, go down as like a sore loser or have those kind of whiny things? Listen, I get it. Like Bruins fans, if it's Brind'Amour Moore, if it's someone like that, you're like, all right, give it a break. But like, that's the way the game has to be played. And it's like, I don't know. If you want to be the upstanding gentleman of this series, that's fine. The Florida Panthers will move forward after sucker punching your captain.
And welcome into the Bruins Beat, presented by Prize Picks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. And we're presented by Game Time. You want to go to Game 6 potentially? You want to go down to Game 5 in Florida? Or maybe you're like, I'm done with this. I'm going to go watch the Celtics because hopefully they last a little bit longer. Use the promo code CLNS at Game Time to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. Connor.
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. You are about to board a flight to Florida for Game 5, and you'll be back in your You'll have a meeting with the Rainforest Cafe execs after some of your mishaps last week. Hopefully, you kind of smooth things over. I would hope.
I got a stern email from the top brass, the top branch at the Rainforest Cafe. I will not disclose what the tenor or the tone of the email was, but let's just say they were pissed. So I got a lot of explaining to do. So say a prayer for me, Evan. I need all the help I can get. So much for all that lemur lasagna.
I will. I mean, I'm hoping this, somehow there's an effect on me, right? Where they say, all right, we're going to give you a sponsorship. Maybe we'll give Evan a sponsorship too. And right now it's not looking so hot. So
you might get a strong word email too. I don't think anyone's safe. You don't mess with the Rainforest Cafe, man.
Damn it. That's not good. I figured they were tough, but not this tough. You know who has not been, who deserves a strongly worded email? NHL officiating. And I hate that we're starting here because we're going to get into the Bruins' rough play of the past 3 games. Don't worry. But we're going to kind of start with the officials. I think 2 things can be true. The Bruins are not playing well, but they're also getting screwed by officiating. Like, it's not one or the other. I think some people on Twitter are like, oh, you can't be complaining about officials when your team is playing this bad. We are complaining about how the Bruins are playing this bad. But the goalie interference call in Game 4 was ridiculous. I saw Michael Hurley just tweet it out, and I didn't really see it in the moment, but Lindholm, the sort of interference on Ekman-Larsson, where he just kind of pushes his hands up, and Ekman-Larsson's own hands hit him in the face. Lindholm's interference penalty, and then you have the Game 3 shit with Sam Bennett with the punch, and somehow that. I guess TNT opened the pregame show with that on Sunday night. That angle from the benches that clearly shows a punch. I texted you this, like, that's not momentum. Like, momentum didn't make him do that. That was completely intentional. There's no denying it. And supplementary discipline. And then the Bruins are the heavy penalized team in Game 4. Obviously, there were some that were deserved. There were some legitimate penalties in there, and they got to stay out of the box. But the goalie interference thing, and it's just nothing is going the Bruins' way at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that I think we have to lead off of this, right? Because if you told me going into this series, and we both had Panthers winning this series a little bit longer than it's currently set right now, with the Bruins going into elimination game in Game 5, but if you told me there's going to be a hard-fought series where the Bruins come up just short in some of these games, but the Panthers forecheck, their depth, their talent outlast the Bruins, but the Bruins push back in some of these games, make it a game. I think if you're a Bruins fan, you come to terms with that, right? In terms of where this team was just a few weeks ago, where it feels like we were going towards a full-out apocalypse with how that first-round series with Toronto is going. But to have these games now marred by this, right? And I wrote something in the Globe looking at just how dominant the Panthers have been, which we will talk about because the Bruins have not been playing particularly well outside of all the main storylines with Bennett and the officiating and all that stuff. But to have like these games come down to calls like that, or missed calls, or just stuff where the referee's fingerprints and the league's interpretation of goaltender interference, which changes day to day, week to week, series to series. To have those things be marred by this, it's just unfortunate for the game of hockey. It's frustrating for Bruins fans, but like, listen, I don't know if the Boston Bruins are the most popular franchise across the NHL. You go on like social media or Reddit or what other people are writing about, and it's like, well, it's not going Boston's way right now. And it probably pains them to admit that, but like that's, I mean, it's the way the series is going. It just feels like it's the script's being written already, right? With like Bennett being the guy that's involved in everything, because of course he is.
He's been
And
in for
so
2 games. He's been in for two
yeah,
games.
and again, like as you said, like you can, both things can be true. The officiating and the refs have influenced the game, and the Bruins have kind of been on the short end of it quite a bit in this series. Bruins also haven't played well, and they deserve to probably be on the brink of elimination just the way they played. But it just sucks that when we, if the Bruins season comes up or comes to a close, whether it's Tuesday or later on this week, it can't just be like, got beat by this very good, very playoff ready, effective Panthers team. You're going to have these things hovering over it. And like the NHL, again, NHL doesn't want, fighting to happen. They want to heavily scrutinize the game, but they'll put all the marketing for game 4 on that. And then they're not going to, have pool reports for the referees as to what their call was and that goaltender interference. They're not going to have any pool reports from the NHL in terms of why they ruled that as they did. It's like, we're going to have lack of transparency. You're going to bullshit like this. Enjoy it, guys. Make another promo for the next fight when Matt Rempe runs through Sam Bennett the next series, but then scrutinize that series as well. Good
Well,
luck.
I think that's the thing. And again, like if you're going to heavily scrutinize the series, which they announced prior to game 3, then that Bennett punch should have had supplemental discipline. You want to say, I mean, no one saw that in the moment. The Bruins didn't see it in the moment. We saw Marchand, sort of have a tough time getting to his feet after the play and getting to the bench.
I
But
felt
we
like
thought,
the
oh,
wind
maybe he
got
hit it.
knocked out of him.
Yeah, or like, oh, maybe he hit his head at the boards or something like that. But to then have this other angle where there's clearly a punch. I mean, that is a clear. And Bennett was on after with the TNT crew after Game 4, being like, "Oh, it wasn't my intent. It's happening so fast." I mean, clearly it was. And this is not like you know this isn't Sam Reinhart, who has no history. This is a guy who was on the edge last year against Toronto, took out Bunting, took out Nyes, now took out Marchand. Like, the fact that the league is not doing more for this guy, and yes, awesome if Sam Bennett was on your team. He's the kind of guy you want in the playoffs. He plays on the edge, all that stuff. But punching a guy in the face and concussing him on just a simple hit, I mean, that is so beyond the line. That is so uncool and so ridiculous. And for the league to not do a thing about it, no fine, no, nothing, no hearing, just nothing. The league did nothing on it. It's ridiculous. And I saw Kevin Paul DuPont call the NHL a garage league, and they are. Like that stuff like this is why they get that reputation. And it's ridiculous. And another side of it, and I think this is why people are also agitated, is where the hell's the Bruins response? Like, Sam Bennett was not touched last night at all. I think Trent Frederick might have tried to go with him at one point, but didn't work. I know Maroon was kind of signaling like, "Hey, let's go," and Bennett wouldn't take it. But there was no response. And what's interesting is like when Game 4 opened up, right? McAvoy lays out Reinhart. It's like, all right, this is what they're doing. Okay, that's good. That's a good start. Then they score on the power play. It's like, all right, they're playing with energy. Carlos scores. You think, all right, you know what? They're responding well. They're beating him on the scoreboard, playing some hits. What the fuck was the second and third period? I mean, it was so conservative. And Carl Corzini and I talked about this on the postgame show. They had the foot on the gas in the first, and then in the second and third, it was just like, whoop, play conservative, protect the lead. The physicality went away. To me, like, this is where it goes into the Bruins end of like, where is the response to this stuff happening? Where is the response to the adversity that you're facing? Because it doesn't seem like it's there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where even in that first period, again, the Bruins, how you approach it is tough, right? And Frederick kind of mentioned that before Game 4 of like, we can't just, you know, sucker punch Bennett and get a 5 minute
Yeah,
or get
you
the
can't do that.
misconduct. Like, you can't do that. And of course, Bennett's not going to fight. You're playing into their hands by doing that. But you looked at how they played in that first period. Well, one, you're beating them on the score sheet. Like, you're You're capitalizing on a power play. You're getting pucks on net, which even like Carl, I don't think even know that he scored initially off of that play. Like, what do you know? Get pucks on net against Bobrovsky, good things happen. But you look at McAvoy's hit, you got like Swayman jarring with Kachuk. You've got them trying to finish hits all across the ice. Like, that's what you have to do right now just to get back into the series. Unless you get to game 5 and it's a blowout and then all of a sudden shit goes off the rails, which maybe at that point the Bruins are like, screw it. But right now, when you're trying to stay afloat, keep your season alive, like what that first period is kind of what you have to do right now. If you go up big and win in game 5, maybe that changes things and you get the leeway, but have a 2-3 goal lead with 3 minutes to go before you start, trying to atone for anything, right? I think that's the biggest approach or the biggest key for how the Bruins have to handle this. Like the Kachuk or Bennett, those guys aren't going to drop the gloves and fight you. They're going to wait for you to try to get an instigator or something and spend a lot more time in the penalty box. But that first period, I think, is how you have to approach things. Like, be physical, finish your checks, be aggressive. And again, like the Panthers, like they are a good team they're a tough team to solve. Like, even when you look in that first period where the Bruins were getting rush chances off of some risky plays, a lot of key stops by Swayman down the other end of the ice. Like, you're gonna have to play with fire a little bit just to get chances right now, because you're not generating them the simple old fashioned way of dumping the puck in or making the clean breakup passes. Like, they're either not executing, or they're not there. So I think that's the biggest key for the Bruins, is just a similar approach to that first period is how you have to beat them right now. Again, it changes how it approaches later on in game 5 if you're down big or anything like that. But you have to, be physical, set the tone, do those kinds of things, but also you need to generate ozone time and you need to find ways to avoid staying in the penalty box, because third period, Bruins had one shot on goal after Bennett's power play. It's like, well, we spend most of it on the penalty kill. It's not going to help your already arduous task of just breaking the puck out of your own end.
No, and also the other end of that is like you respond with hard forechecks too, because you get to finish hits on defense. You get to force turnovers. They did that a little bit in the first. They've done it at points in the series, and they go away from it. I want to talk about Jim Montgomery's response last night, but first, a quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks.
Quick break in the action to tell you about my good friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks has something for every sports fan, from basketball and hockey to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Caitlin Clark, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham all in the same entry. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. And the best part, quick withdrawals. And it's easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. As the Bruins playoffs roll on, I'm liking the pick of Jeremy Swayman more saves. He's just been so good of late. And you know what? I also like Jake DeBrusk more goals. So download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now, back to the show.
So what I wasn't a huge fan of on after Game 4 was I figured after everything that happened in Game 4, you're down 3-1. This is when you go after the officials. This is when Jim Montgomery uses the presser to bash the officiating. And boy, did he have chances. Asked about the goalie interference, asked about Lindholm's penalties, asked follow-ups. And that's when it's like, that's when you play the game. The other coaches do it. I mentioned on the post-game show, Berube in 2019 with the Blues, Sheldon Keefe last series. Rod Brindamore sure loves to do that.
John
His
Cooper.
team back in series. John Cooper. There's a lot of it. It's a common thing. You call it the officials, and that's how you work. That's how you work it. That's how you play the game. And there was nothing. There was nothing. You heard more from the players on the officiating than you did Jim Montgomery. And that's where it's like, what's the strategy here? You don't want to take the fine? Like, obviously, you do not think the officials are doing a good job. No one does. Like, it's not a hot take. It's a fact. And you got to go out there and take it. And I just don't understand not doing it, because it can help you get back. I think right now the Bruins are clawing at any possible way to get back in the series. That is a way to claw your way back into a series, and he didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've seen it work out in the past with other teams. As you said, look at like Berube and the St. Louis Blues. I mean, even like I think even if it doesn't swing the discrepancy in terms of calls in your favor, tell you what, the NHL hates when their officiating gets put on blast, when it makes anything look like a clown car operation. And tell you what, it sure helps make the news cycle go a little bit more when you have the other coach ripping your team. You look at even like Game 5 in 2019 against the Blues, where obviously Berube has his comments. The Blues don't get penalized on Achari's trip, and Bruce Cassidy had an all-timer press conference
Oh
afterwards where he
my
pretty much was like,
God, did he?
where he pretty much like flat out said like, yeah, I think like what they've said is influenced the officiating, especially from their head coach. Like calls out Berube for stating the facts of it, and it's like, tell you what, that sure made the rounds on local media here, on national, on NHL Network. Doesn't make the league look good, but you know what? When you've had these games called like this, maybe the league deserves it. If they're not going to take accountability, if we can't have a pool reporter just ask the basic question of what the fuck did you see on that play, we can't get that. We can't get that from the situation room in Toronto. Then it's on the coach and these guys to call those things out. Again, the players are the ones doing it, but if you're not going to hear it from the coach, and I don't know, like, is it you just don't want to, go down as like a sore loser or have those kind of whiny things. Listen, I get it. Like Bruins fans, if it's Brindamore, if it's someone like that, you're like, all right, give it a break. But like that's the way the game has to be played, and it's like I don't know. If you want to be the upstanding gentleman of this series, that's fine. The Florida Panthers will move forward after sucker punching your captain. After Paul Maurice spars with the media, says there wasn't any interpretation of the rule book. Those guys can advance though, but at least you guys were the good guys in the series. Good luck.
We'll always remember them. We'll always remember
Nice
them as
guys.
the
Nice
good
guys finish first. So
Yeah,
I guess that's how we're. I guess how the Bruins are approaching it. I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't understand the approach at all. And to me, like the lack of response from the Bruins in Game 3 was staggering. After Pastrnak dropped the gloves, after everything happened in Game 2, and then there was a response for the first period in Game 4, and then never again. And they just took the foot off the gas. And I feel like they're just getting dummied around this series on the ice, off the ice. Maurice has no problem doing it, and defending his guys, and I just don't understand it. And I wonder, like, Montgomery has that press conference. Now, you and I are recording this Monday morning. Don Sweeney's set to speak at like 12:30 at Hanscom before they go off to Florida. I wonder if I don't know what he's going to say, but I do wonder if it has something to do with the officials or something to do with, hey, this is the status of Marchand.
Yeah.
And, it's going to put out like, hey, you got knocked out for a series. What's up with this? I wonder if he's going to call out the officials. I don't know. I'm curious, like if that's the point of it, for that message to be sent through him because it wasn't sent through Montgomery. I don't understand the approach at all. I don't get it. Avoid a fine. I don't know. I don't get it at all, and I think it was a complete missed opportunity because, as you said, this is when you do these things. Like you're not gentlemanly when you're down 3-1 in a series. You are scraping and clawing for anything that can possibly be to your advantage. Yes, the Panthers are the better team. No duh. Everybody knows that. But you're trying to gain advantages, and they just are not getting any right now. They're also not getting any on the ice. I want to get into that in a bit. But first, a quick word from our friends over at Game Time.
Quick break to tell you about my good friends over at Game Time. I am very excited about the NBA playoffs, and what's awesome is here in Boston, TD Garden is the best atmosphere for a playoff game. Thankfully, we have Game Time, which is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Maybe it's the NBA playoffs or it's the NHL playoffs. The same is true with the Bruins. TD Garden gets so fun during this time of year, and you want to be there. The Bruins and Celtics are in pursuit of championships, and as the rounds go on, the crowd gets better and better. Nothing beats it. And with Game Time, there's last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. There's flash deals. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. And there are zone deals. Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. Again, take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets and head over to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code, again, CLNS. I can't be more clear about that. Use code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Now, back to the show.
Maybe I think the more I think about it, I think the Bruins need some of that lemur lasagna. I think that's really what it is. My allergies are kicking my ass again today. This is like I fucking hate the spring, man. You just get killed by it. It happened after the game last night too, where like I'd do an ad read, and then like I would press the one of those ad reads, and then I would just like sprint to the bathroom to get like toilet paper to sneeze into. So that is the time of year. That's how I'm doing right now. The lack of adjustments the Bruins have on the ice to me has also been staggering. Montgomery mentioned a better game plan going into game 4, and they had it in the first. I mean, they still got outshot, but we expect that. But they did throw pucks on net a teeny bit more. They had 5 shots in the first period, and credit to them, they also had like 7 high danger chances in the second. So like they did get some good chances, but they were more aggressive on the forecheck, and then after that, they just reverted right back to everything. And I like the lack of adjustments on the Bruins end this series to me has been not good. I mean, the fact that they are still going for the best quality shot, the best high danger chance they possibly can every offensive zone possession is ridiculous when you consider Sergei Bobrovsky is shaky. And you're, by the way, the Bruins roster is not good enough in a playoff series like this to be, hey, let's go for the best possible chance. Like, you just don't have the personnel for that. You got to throw everything at the net, and they better start doing that in game 5, or they are heading to Galveston if they don't.
Yes, well, nice reference there. But I mean, you even look right. Like Vancouver, for the record, won their game yesterday against the Oilers. They won and they were outshot 45-18. So it is possible.
It is possible.
But it's also, again, one, I think comes down to finishing the opportunities you have. As you said, a whole bunch of high danger chances in the second period. You had 3 breakaways, right? Or partial breakaways. Heinen, DeBrus, Coyle. Got to convert on one of those, give yourself some breathing room. If it's all of a sudden 3-0 midway through the second, opens things up just a little bit more, right? You need to capitalize on those chances, especially when it's so tough for you to generate any semblance of consistent, sustainable offensive pressure. Can't have that happen, especially against a goalie that, again, like we've seen even last year in the first round series, where I think Bobrovsky ended that series with a .890 save percentage. He lets in some leaky goals, but then he'll stop some that look like they're going to be grade A chances or are going to the back of the net. So got to convert on those, obviously. But as you said, like there needs to be some adjustments. Like you have to go back to like the Rod Brindamore, Bruce Cassidy school of offensive approach, right, where it's getting every possible puck on net. Like even if it's a low danger chance, like that's the most confounding thing. I think it was after game 3. Brendan Carlo mentioned like no shot is a bad shot in the playoffs. And Charlie McAvoy mentioned something similar. It's like, all right, well, the players see it. That's why Brendan Carlo just threw that puck on net, led to a goal. Like the players know that that's the approach. Like, why isn't that translating to like their game plan or how they're, changing things on the fly? Like, I don't know, like waiting for the perfect pass just isn't going to be feasible right now when you look at this Panthers team. And the whole thing is like, as we said in the Toronto series where you have the questions over the goalie rotation, which I mean that's freaking out the door now. Like after game 4,
Linus Ullmark just played his last game as a Bruin. I think that's pretty much clear.
But like you look at how these things change by matchup. Yes, the Bruins maybe game plan is to do quality over quantity. It can change based on who you're playing, and if you're that hard pressed to generating offense, that hard pressed to generate consistent ozone time, and Bobrovsky's been leaky, just get every freaking puck on net, converge to the net. Wait for the rebounds, wait for the tips, all those kinds of things, and just put any puck possible in grade A ice and see what happens. Because right now, it seems like a better strategy than what you have right now. Because if you're just waiting for the prime opportunity to be there, one's either not going to show up or you're limiting how many chances you have. Like, would you take 18 shots on goal with a couple of grade A's that hopefully get into the net, or would you rather pepper them with 30 shots or 25? Bruins fans would be happy with 25 shots on goal
I was
at
gonna
this
say
point in these games, and just see what you can get out against Bobrovsky in that regard. So I think you have to change just how your overall approach is in this series, just in the way things are going and how tough it is for you to get down the other end of the ice.
And I like prior to game 4, Montgomery's like, they play man to man. You just have to beat your matchup. Well, your personnel is not good enough to just beat
They're
a
not
matchup.
winning.
They're not winning. Like you can't just keep doing this. And so I feel like he's getting out coached again. It's another playoff series where he's just kind of getting out coached. And obviously his team is behind, is not as good. We get that, right? Like he got a lot out of the roster during the regular season, no doubt. No one can doubt that. But when it gets to these playoff series, he does have a tough time. Like he does have a tough time matching what the Panthers are doing and reading and reacting and switching things up. And the same problems are persisting every game. And obviously, yes, the roster is a big part of that. We acknowledge that. I mean, we acknowledged after the first round, hey, just get into the second round, that's good. But when these are things that you could easily fix, hey, let's shoot all the time. Let's, just shoot and crash the hell out of the net. Also, Marinofsky makes all these high danger saves, most of them. So, like, again, it feels like he's getting out coached at the moment. And it leads me to this. Is this series over? Is this done? 3-1 Panthers, headed back to Florida. What say you, Conor Ryan? Is this series over?
It's not looking great, Evan. And
No,
I think you
not.
just look at. I think what comes down to it, right, is just I don't think the Bruins have the horses to, can they win Game 5 and come back to Boston? If you're looking for the script the Bruins usually go by, it's them winning Game 5 like by 2 goals, come back to and then lose Game 6 at home. Like that's probably what the actual script is. But I just
and lose Game 6 at home.
Yeah,
You're probably
yeah.
right.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. Like you just look at the way this series is going. A lot hasn't gone your way. I don't know. You shouldn't be hoping for just the comma or anything like that to fall your way or you get more calls. I just think you just don't have the horses right now in this series, especially just offensively, to claw back into it. Like David Pasternak's probably your one main threat, but they're covering him every single time he's in the offensive zone. You're still not getting anything from Pavel Zacha. You need more from Coyle in terms of the scoring department, that part of it. Just doesn't seem like you're able to generate enough consistent ozone time to reasonably claw back into these games. That it feels like even though the Panthers can kind of open things up quite a bit, they score like an opening goal in this series, especially as of late. It feels like it's just a backbreaker, in terms of just how hard it is for this team to manufacture offense. So can they win Game 5? Absolutely. They can rebound. They can try to galvanize those things, but to win 3 straight against this team with the way their offense is going, barring a few guys just completely taking off, just doesn't look good right now, Evan.
I agree. It's funny. When the Bruins were up 3-1 last year, I said, this series is over. So maybe if I say it's over again, it'll like reverse jinx it. Like, all right, the Panthers start to choke on themselves a little bit. I agree. I just, I could see them winning Game 5, but to win 3 in a row with the way they're playing, I don't see it. I mean, again, like you're wasting great goaltending from Jeremy Swayman. Swayman's been outstanding. He's been the star of this postseason. I just, if you're not going to make adjustments, if you're going to hope for calls, I don't know what changes. I just don't. And again, like, yeah, you're right. If Zacha or Coyle go off, then like great. But they're just getting shut down right now. I mean, look, they put Zacha in the third line to get third line minutes, and they didn't generate any offense. Like, to me, this series highlights more what you need, and what you need is top 6 help, and we'll talk about that a lot in the postseason or in the off season. I feel like we're going to be talking about that soon, so I don't want to spoil it all now, but you need top 6 help this off season, and props to them for getting this far. But there's areas they can improve both now and in the future, because the Panthers are better. The Panthers are better than you, and you need to improve to get to their level and be able to compete. Because I think they're going to be a team that's good for quite a while, and you can't just be behind them every year and pray you don't face them. I mean, I don't want to say it's over. Like I said to Carl Corzini last night when I said, "Is it over?" He's just like, "Yes, it's over." Do you want me to expand on that? I was like, "Yes, Carl."
It's the shortest post game report ever.
just 5 seconds. That's it. Yes. It's like a 95. I think it's like a 95% chance it's over. But then there's that like 5-10% chance where I'm like, maybe. But no, I sorry, I do. What do you want me to do? It's been quite the series. Officiating, bad play, and you're going back to Florida. So at least you get to go to Florida, I guess.
Rainforest Cafe, baby. Maybe they'll welcome me with open arms, with arms wide open.
Get tattoos with Ty. That's what you have to do. You have to
Yes,
get
of course.
tattoos with Ty.
You know what? To be honest, they won game 1, and then no one got tattoos with Ty. And let's just say the vibes deteriorated at a rapid rate. So
they did. Maybe I'll make the trip down just to get a tattoo.
You'll have me on for before game 6. If the Bruins win, I'll have a nice tattoo of Scott Stapp from Creed on the side of my face. Change the vibes.
Get a teardrop.
Yes, exactly.
What happened in Florida?
Yes.
Anyways, things that will happen. Now, what can the people look forward to from Boston Globe and Boston.com?
Yes, you can read all my stuff over there at the Globe and Boston.com, whether it's recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that stuff for however long this Bruins season carries on. So you can read all of my stuff there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. Again, represented by Prize Picks. Use that promo code CLNS. Get up to $100 matched in first deposit. And game time. Use that promo code CLNS. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Bruins listeners, have a great rest